Because see, God's way is always leading us in to growth. Sometimes we're growing through the experience of stepping into our promised land, and sometimes we're growing through the experience of walking through a wilderness to get there. Either way, he's up to your good, leading into your growth. And you're going to find yourself in bad circumstances, but I'm going to tell you, this is the process to make good decisions, even in bad circumstances. All right, good evening, everyone. I'm Blake Anderson. It's great to be back here with you for another Increase class. Tonight, we're going to be jumping into something that is super practical, hands-on, tactical, something that you can start using immediately and start seeing results. You know, in Increase, we say that we are teaching spiritual principles to get natural results. And we're going to be triggering lots of spiritual principles in this class, but we're going to be focusing on the how-to. We're going to be focusing on the hands-on, the things you can do right now to start getting some actual results, change your life experience, hopefully change your outcomes. So tonight's class, we're talking about how to make good decisions in bad circumstances. It's a class on decision making. I'm going to put my finger on some hot button issues, some things that make us cringe and maybe lead us to make bad decisions. And then before we get out of here, I'm going to give you a 7-step process that you can use to start making decisions in your life. And I guarantee you, without a doubt, if you will start using this process when you make decisions, you will experience different results. You will experience a different quality of life. So stick with me through the whole class as we get into it. So let me ask you some questions. Have you ever said this? I have no choice. I just have to. Or maybe I'm out of money. Maybe you've said, I just don't know what to do. Or I can't take it anymore. It's either all things that we've said when we felt angry or afraid or anxious. And it's feelings like this that are birthed out of bad circumstances. When something's happened in our life experience that we didn't plan for or we don't like, and oftentimes we don't even know what to do in response to it. It's in those times that we feel forced to make a decision when the options are bad or maybe seem even non-existent. Have you ever felt that way? Have you ever been there? I know that my wife and I have been through seasons where we felt like there were no options. And even the ones that were given to us were ones we would not choose. Yet here I stand today. I made it. I didn't die. I didn't lose my kids. I didn't lose everything. We find ourselves in circumstances when there is no way out. But tonight I'm going to give you a framework where you'll begin to see a way when maybe there wasn't one. We begin to see eyes to see options that we didn't know that we have. So in today's class, I want to show you how to make a good decision in a bad circumstance. You know, our journey is filled with uncertainty, and uncertainty can quickly cause fear. And fear has a way of overtaking our whole being, and it can paralyze us, or it can even turn us into rage. Fear, when we're gripped by it, blinds us to options that we might have, blinds us to resources that are maybe available. It blinds us to new possibilities. And when we face adversity, oftentimes it's our instinct to either fight, flight, or freeze. You know, just a quick neuroscience lesson. In your brain, there's a center in your brain that processes your world, and it's called your amygdala. And oftentimes, your amygdala is the filter in which you're experiencing your world. It's like the first line of defense in your consciousness is your amygdala. But here's your amygdala's job. Your amygdala's job is to keep you safe and to keep you from getting killed. And so your amygdala is always scanning for things that aren't right. It's scanning for danger, and it has you scanning for worry and concern. And when a threat approaches you, real or perceived, your amygdala puts his hands up, and our instinct is typically to either fight, to flight, or to freeze. And you probably have one particular response that is evoked more than others, but it's probably dependent on the circumstance and what's being provoked in us. And oftentimes we're being something in our history is being provoked where something didn't go well, or maybe we felt that we weren't defended or we were vulnerable, and where our amygdala is trying to protect us from that situation. The amygdala really was placed there so we didn't get attacked by invaders. So maybe we didn't get eaten by a lion or a bear, but your amygdala nowadays is on high alert when something happens in your circumstance that you don't like, and it's a bad circumstance. And our instinct starts to want to fight, flight, or freeze. And what I want to tell you is you should never, ever make a decision in your life, especially not a life-changing one, when you're in fight, flight, or freeze. Really what I'm saying is you should never make a decision when you feel angry, when you feel afraid, and when you feel anxious. Because when you feel those ways, fear is blinding you to your options, and it's blinding you to possibilities, and you are being set up to make a bad decision. Now, oftentimes we make these bad decisions and we blame it on the circumstance or the person that put us in there. But what I'm trying to tell you today is there's a way to change all that. There's a way to make a good decision even when the circumstance is bad. So what are some of these things? Let's just provoke some stuff right now. Think about some of the things that have made us feel anxious, made us feel angry, made us feel afraid. We need to connect with what those situations have looked like in our life, just briefly, so we can begin to feel the feeling that we get in our body when this happens. So now we start to have eyes to see when that happens. Because for some of us, early on in our journey, when maybe we haven't matured or don't have harmony in our body, we're making decisions that we don't even know we're making. We're just reacting. That amygdala is just reacting to something rather than creating space in between the stimulus and your response. Okay. Unhealed places will often react very quickly. But as we learn this process, we're going to begin to create space between the stimulus and our response so that when we make a decision from a powerful place, from a peaceful place, from a place where we're actually able to see what the options really are, and an empowered place to make a good decision, even when it feels like a bad circumstance. So I'm just going to name a few of some things that I've journeyed through in my life, and maybe you can think through the situations in your life which provoked anger, fear, or anxiety. I know money woes has made me feel like that. I've had multiple seasons in my life where we're going through financial wilderness, didn't seem to have enough money to pay for the bills, had unexpected bills or expenses come up, businesses that maybe weren't doing so well, and fear would come on. I'd be anxious, and then oftentimes would be angry or maybe just completely afraid. You know, I remember there was a time in our financial wilderness where we couldn't pay the mortgage. We couldn't pay the utilities. I remember when our water got shut off, and the only way for us to get water is to take the bucket across the street, fill up out of the neighbor's tap, and come back to cook the food, to flush the toilets, to wash the babies. And in that period of time, we couldn't pay the mortgage either. We had letters coming from the mortgage company saying, you're a month late. You're 2 months late. You're 3 months late. We're about to foreclose on your house. And I remember feeling trapped. I remember freezing. That was how I responded. I froze and I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what my options were. I didn't feel like I had any options, and I didn't like the ones that I could find. It's another period in my life when my business wasn't doing so well. The bills were coming in. They were stacking up, and I was paralyzed. I didn't have the income. I didn't have the money. I wasn't generating the revenue in the business to cover the payroll and pay all the bills. And I let the bills stack up and I was afraid to open the mail. It wasn't until my wife intervened and came to my office one weekend and we opened up all the letters, and I needed her help because I was so afraid of what that total would be and how I knew my revenue wouldn't cover it. I froze and I let them stack up because I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to make a good decision in a bad circumstance. Maybe you've been on a health journey. My wife's gone through some extensive health journeys, had times in her life where she didn't know what was going on in her health, getting diagnoses that she didn't like, feeling like there was no other option. Maybe someone watching right now has had a cancer diagnosis and had a doctor put pressure on you. We've got to do something immediately. And there'll be this place of fear, almost feel pressured in to making a decision you weren't ready to make. Some of you felt it on a job. You ever been at your work? Things were so frustrating at the time. You just wanted to leave. The circumstance was horrible. These people don't get it. Am I the only one working around here? Am I the only one that cares? You feel that? I want you to begin to feel in your body the constriction. See, oftentimes, even when we don't know that we have the ability to make a decision, the first step is to begin to recognize when you feel that way. When you feel angry, afraid, or anxious, either one of those, when fear begins to grip your body, no matter how you respond to the fear, you're going to feel a constriction. You're going to feel a tightening up. Sometimes you might get a clenching of the jaw, or you start to press your foot into the floor. Your body begins sometimes, even before we can recognize it with our mind, begins to reveal to us that we are feeling trapped. We're starting to feel closed in. We don't like these circumstances. See, when that begins to happen, you're empowering your amygdala to make a decision of fight, flight, or freeze. None of those are a great place to make a decision. Maybe you felt this way in relationships, whether it's in your marriage. Felt like your spouse didn't understand, you couldn't get on the same page, and you felt like there was maybe no option but to leave. Could be in your parenting, or maybe you have a boss or a leader that you don't like that makes you freeze, and you feel angry or afraid you might lose your job or wonder what might come next. See, what you've got to understand, as I said before, you've got to be determined to never make a decision when you are angry, when you're afraid, or when you're anxious. Let me say that again. If you want to have a prosperous, successful life and you want to have joy along the way, you have got to make a decision right now to never make a decision when you are angry, when you're afraid, or when you're anxious. You see, John Maxwell says, and I totally agree with him, he says, it is our decisions, not our conditions, that determine the quality of our life. You see, we don't have control over much in our life, but what we do have control over is the decisions that we make. We actually have control over most of the thoughts we think. We have control over the words we speak. We have control over actions. Really, what I'm saying is we have control over our decisions. And it will be the decisions that you make that create your life. So Maxwell says, it's our decisions, not our conditions, that determine the quality of our life. Now, you might find yourself in a place where you feel like you didn't choose the circumstance. You stumbled upon it. Someone pushed you into a place you don't like. Maybe you don't like your boss or your spouse or whatever, however you find there, and you want to blame someone else. And you may not have been able to choose your circumstance. And the circumstance may not be good. It might be bad. But here's what you do have control over. If you can't control your circumstances, you can control your decisions. And I want to give you a process that will empower you with any decision that you might need to make to be able to make a good decision, no matter what the circumstances. So here's the thing. Step number one, we never make a decision when you're angry, afraid, or anxious. Don't allow any circumstance or person try to coerce you or push you into making a decision when you feel this way. Trust me, they can wait. So you first today, we decide I'm never going to make a decision that way. When I feel this way, I'm going to pause. I will not make a decision because trust me, it won't be a one that will take you to a good place. The second thing that you've got to do when it's time to make a good decision is you've got to pause. You have to pause. Okay. You've got to create space between the stimulus you got to create space between the event and your response to the event, from the circumstance and your response to it. Create space there. Now, when we're in a good place, there always seems to be space. Have you ever noticed when things are going well and it's time to make a good decision or an easy one, there's no rush? Have you ever felt like you were rushed to make a good decision? No. Good decisions in good circumstances, there's no haste, there's no rush. Well, we can apply this exact same thing to bad circumstances. There's never any rush. Now, the situation might make you feel pressured. I'm going to tell you where the pressure is coming from. The pressure is coming from fear. Okay. Oftentimes, the pressure you feel isn't from the people outside of you. It's actually coming from within. The circumstance that you find yourself in is provoking a response of fear. And fear turns up the dial on the pressure. And we oftentimes feel a pressure to do something now, do something now, do something now. But trust me, you rarely have to do something now. When you find yourself in any circumstance, one, you know you're never going to make a decision when you're angry, afraid, or anxious. And you're always going to pause. You're going to create space for you to see the way, for you to find the solution. And then the third thing that we're going to do is we're going to get connected. Okay? Get connected. Get connected to what, Blake? Well, we are going to get connected with God, and we're going to get connected with ourselves. Okay. See, the Bible says, Jesus said that the first commandment was that you love God with all your heart, all your mind, and all your soul. And the second one is like unto the first, that you will love others as yourself. You see, for us to find our rightful place where we're centered, where we're whole, where there is peace, we need to be connected with God, and we need to be connected with ourselves and who we are, who we've been created to be, and the peace within us, so that we're not making decisions under duress. We're not being coerced by someone else. Instead, we're empowered as ourselves to make a good decision for us and for what we're called to do, knowing what the right thing is. Now, sometimes good decisions are hard decisions. I'm not talking about whether it's easy or hard. I'm talking about a good decision, the right decision, the one you know that you're supposed to make. And no matter what your circumstance, you can do that. So how do we do this? How do you do it when you feel the pressure of the money? It's the 23rd of the month, and some of you might be looking at the income, and you might be looking at some of the bills that have come in and thought, I don't know, there's only 8 days left. I don't know if we're going to make it. I don't know if there's going to be enough money. And your mind starts to go to work. Fear starts to get you on a hamster wheel. You're starting to think, do I put it on a credit card? Do I got to call someone? Should I ask somebody? It's going to be humiliating. What if I tell them I can't pay on time? Oh my gosh, what will that mean? What will people think of me? You feel that? Is there any peace there? It's anxiety, right? We find ourselves in a bad circumstance. So how do we make a decision here? Well, if you've been with us for very long, you can probably guess where I'm going with this. You see, just a few weeks back, we finished an 8-week study on the keys to prosper. And these keys to prosper open the doors of opportunity in your life, to bring more, to bring increase to your life. But these keys are the perfect blueprint to live a prosperous life. And it's from these keys used as a process that we're empowered to make good, sound, strong decisions. Because really what these keys do is they get you in the perfect position in your life, perfect position to move forward, perfect position to make a decision. Okay. So go back and watch them all, but we're going to review them because it's a 7-step process and it works every single time. Okay. Step number 1, bad circumstance. What do I do? Well, after I've decided I'm not going to make a bad decision, and I've decided that I create this pause, now I'm able to get connected. And here's how I'm going to do it. Step number 1 is thanks or gratitude. Gratitude. You're thinking, Blake, gratitude. My circumstance is horrible. There's nothing to be grateful for. Oh, but there's plenty to be grateful for. No matter how bad your circumstance is, I promise you, there is plenty to be grateful for. So literally, step number 1 is we decide, you know what? We're going to put this bad circumstance aside, and we're going to get connected with God and ourselves through gratitude, because I have something to be grateful for. Guys, listen, gratitude opens the door for more. Opens the door for more money, opens the door for more relationships, opens the door for more possibilities and options that you need to make decisions. So literally, I found myself this morning, just felt like I get up on the wrong side of the bed, had plenty of things that I was kind of managing through and couldn't quite figure out how they were fit together. I went, worked out, and on my way back, I was feeling a lot better, but I realized, you know what? No. I wasn't in a place to make a decision, though there were decisions that need to be made. I need to get in my right place. Well, the first step is the key to prosper. It's thanks. So I literally started going through a routine of gratitude. For my 15-minute drive home, it was 15 minutes of gratitude. I created a 15-minute space from my circumstance to get connected with who I was and who God was to me. And so it went like this. God, I thank you that I'm alive. I'm going to thank you for this beautiful morning. I thank you for the friends I got to work out with. I thank you that my wife and my kids are waiting for me at home. I thank you for all the wonderful times and adventures that we've had together. I thank you for who they've meant for me. I thank you for the work that I get to do. I thank you for the team that I get to work with. I thank you for the fact that I got to work out today. I thank you for this wonderful, loving home that I get to live my life in. I thank you for the vehicles that get me where they want to go. And I like this vehicle and it's got a great ride to it. And I thank you for these projects that I'm working on and they're excited. I thank you for the dreams you've put in my heart that one day they'll come true. I'm excited about what the future holds. Though it's not here today, I'm moving towards something good. I thank you, God. I thank you for the mom and the dad I have. I thank you for my family. See where it went? You start anywhere. Whatever you can be grateful for, if all you can be grateful for is the breath in your lungs, then start there. But trust me, if you will honestly start being grateful in the moment for whatever you can, you'll find it never stops. One thing will lead to another, and you will just continue to look around and find that you're blessed. No matter how bad your circumstance feels, you're blessed. And as you begin to be grateful, what's amazing is the pressure. You won't notice it while it's happening, but the pressure begins to lift. If you stay in that place of gratitude and actively start connecting to all the things that you can be grateful for, all of a sudden the pressure will be gone. Yeah, the pressure that you won't pay your mortgage this month, the pressure that maybe you may not be able to pay the car payment. Pressure will leave. It just will. And now all of a sudden you'll be able to breathe. You're not thinking through your amygdala anymore. You could take a deep breath. You're like, okay, things are pretty good. All right, great. Step number 2, what do you do next? Some of you might just do that and that's enough, right? There's a second step. Second step is, if you've been watching this, what is it? It's order. Second step is, so I'm grateful. I've done my work. I've connected to God. I've connected to myself. Everything's good. I realize I'm fine. I will live through this, right? Second step, order. Start to put things in order. So if you're worried about your money, start to put some affairs in order, okay? Maybe you need to open the mail. Maybe you need to make a couple phone calls. I'm not going to be able to make it on time. Can I pay you 10 days later? Maybe you just need to write out the list of the things that you need to do. Maybe you need to send the emails that you've been procrastinating sending. You put things in order. Maybe you just go home and make your bed, put the clothes in the clothes hamper, sweep the floor, clean things up a little bit. It's amazing how putting things in order and organizing your space feels empowering. And you feel like things are impossible. And that weight and pressure of the anger, the fear and anxiety lifts off of you. So you want to put things in order. And don't be surprised if in the process of putting things in order, if you don't begin to see new options, if you don't begin to see new opportunities, if you don't begin to see a path for the decision that you need to make, even in the bad circumstance. Step number 3, okay? It's honor. It's honor. What do I mean by honor? Honor, okay? If for those of you that haven't watched all of the lessons on the Keys to Prosper, honor is a life where God honors you. It's a life really where you love God and you love others. What you're connecting to is alignment with your purpose. Okay. Honor is about alignment with your purpose. It's about alignment with how you love others. You begin to take the obsession off of your life and put it into how you can serve the world, how you can love others. It's amazing when you begin to look at how you can love others, either do a better job at work, or you look at your kids and how you can serve them, or your husband or wife, or you think about your neighbor. You realize your problems really aren't as big as you are making them to be. And you begin to see, you start kind of taking your eyes and your attention off of what you can't change, and you start to put it on what you can change. Okay? Right? Take your attention off of what you can't change and put your attention on what you can change. Okay? That's honor. 4th step is yoked. Yoked from the Bible, where Jesus says, come to me, all you who are weary and are heavy laden, I will give you rest. Take my yoke on you, because my yoke is easy, my burden is light. When you're yoked to God, you're yoked to Christ, really what it is you're allowing him to do the heavy lifting. You embrace the thought that we talked about last week that I can't, he can, so I think I'll let him. You see, when you're grateful and you put things in order and you know how you're supposed to love and serve the world, it's actually pretty easy to trust God, because you begin to feel and see the path that he has you on. So now you begin to have faith and know he's got a purpose. He's got a plan. You know, James 1 says, count it all joy, brother, when you face the trials. Why? Because it's testing your faith. When your faith is tested, it's building patience, because God wants you to be perfect, complete, and lacking in nothing. Every trial you face is for your good. It's actually revealing something new. It's teaching you something you didn't know. Remember, God revealed himself to us as a father, okay? And you parents out there, think about your children. You see, I love my kids so much, I want to expose them to trials and hard things. Why? Because I know it's in those trials they'll learn about themselves. And I would only give them something that they could get through. I would never give them something so heavy that they couldn't do it. Bible says the same thing. God's not going to give you anything you can't get out of or you can't bear. You may feel like you have no choice, like you have no option, but I'm showing you a way. Trust me, you get to this place, you'll realize he can do this for me. So I'm going to yoke to him. I'm going to trust. So you want to fill your thoughts and your mind with things that remind you that you can trust God. He's got you on a journey to somewhere better. Okay, step number 5 of the Keys to Prosper is tithe. It's really important that we stay connected to our provider through our tithe. And in this moment, you may not necessarily need to give an offering. You might, but we want to always be living a life where we understand that God is our source. And so the first 10% of our increase, we give back to him because we thank him for how he's opening doors in our life. Step number 6 is desire. Now, here's the thing. You want to get to a place where you're able to know what you want. A place of peace, place of love. Even in my bad circumstances, I'm not anxious anymore. And from this place, where I'm filled with gratitude, where my life has been organized, I put things in order, when I know when I'm choosing to love the world and not put all my attention on me, and I trust God that he's doing something great in my life, it's really easy to know what I want. What do I want here? What's the outcome that I want? Okay. See, when you're gripped with fear, you can't even think about what you want. The only thing you can think about is, I don't want to die. What a limited viewpoint of life if we're only thinking about our survival. You're just looking down at your feet. But no matter how bad the circumstance begins to change when you stop thinking about you're going to die and you start thinking, what do I really want to happen here? It's amazing what you might see after. And then the final key to prosper is thought. And thought is so important because everything starts in the mind. Stephen Covey, in his book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, says that everything is created twice. First, it's created in the mind, and then it's created physically. Okay. Everything starts as a decision made in your mind. And our thoughts are so important because they create our world. Thoughts are things, thoughts become things. Thoughts create the world around you because every decision you make comes from your thoughts. And what I'm telling you is the highest form of effective and powerful, prosperous living is when you naturally keep space between the event and your response, and you make room for your thinking and your thought, and you choose the thoughts based on what you want. And then you begin to create your world and impress upon the world your desire through your thoughts. And it's as you're thinking about better results, better outcomes, you're not being gripped by the fear, you will see your options differently. You will see possibilities that you couldn't see before. You will start making the decisions that will create a better quality of life. My hope is you get good enough at this, you start to live this way. Gratitude is your way. You're always giving thanks. You're staying connected to God in your place. You keep your life in order. You're living from a place of how you can love or serve. You're yoked to Christ, knowing that he's got you on a journey to take you to your destination. You're always giving back to God because you're appreciative to how he's provided for you. You know from your good, pure heart, the desires he's placed on your heart, and you're pursuing them, and your thoughts are creating that world around you. But even in that place, you're going to find yourself in some bad circumstances. There's no way around it because, see, God's way is always leading us in to growth. Sometimes we're growing through the experience of stepping into our promised land, and sometimes we're growing through the experience of walking through a wilderness to get there. Either way, he's up to your good, leading into your growth, and you're going to find yourself in bad circumstances, but I'm going to tell you, this is the process to make good decisions, even in bad circumstances. Hit me up in the comment section. Send me a DM. Love to know how this has helped you and how you've been empowered to make better decisions this week. Send me an email, send me a text. Let me know your testimony. We'll see you next week for more increase.